the vast majority of the country very recently.
And that's the good bit about woke.
That is. And not that I don't know if they're really responsible for it. I mean, that generation, they did not do the heavy lifting.
No, they didn't. No,
that's one of that's one of their issues or issues I have with them, is they don't study the past.
No.
So they don't understand in perspective what has been done, where we really are, what's important.
Bill Maher brought on this guest onto the Club Random podcast, John Cleese. And I know that John Cleese isn't necessarily a woke person, but he did have a pretty woke take. And nowadays, Bill Maher is not letting any of this woke stuff slide. It doesn't matter if you're a woke person yourself. It doesn't matter if you're a right-winger normally, but you have one woke take. Bill Maher does not let that stuff slide anymore, and it's absolutely glorious to watch. So on this episode of the Club Random podcast, Bill Maher shuts down this guy, John Cleese, for trying to provide some pushback to Bill Maher and defending the woke cult. Let's get into this clip here where Bill Maher destroys this guy for defending the woke cult here live on the Club Random podcast.
Having a lot of divorces because you have nothing to give
Didn't
away.
work the other way around, because California says that the woman is entitled to the standard of living to which she has become accustomed, but the husband isn't. He provided the new standard of living, but he's not entitled to it.
Answer me this, Professor Riddle. Okay, if we live in a patriarchy, and we certainly have in the past, I would argue
in the past, it's getting better.
Way better in that area. So, but in the past, we certainly did live in a patriarchy.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's incomprehensible why. Well, what I mean is women have so much to contribute.
Yes.
The fact we've not been exploiting them by getting them to contribute their powers is so ridiculous.
Oh, and it's only, a lot of these gender and racial areas have only sort of bubbled up into the consciousness of the vast majority of the country very recently.
And that's the good bit about woke.
That is. And not that I don't know if they're really responsible for it. I mean, that generation, they did not do the heavy lifting.
No, they didn't. No,
that's one of that's one of their issues or issues I have with them, is they don't study the past.
No.
So they don't understand in perspective what has been done, where we really are, what's important, and then they, again...
There's no understanding of context. You'd think sometimes that
this is a great point by Bill Maher. It's like these people love to feel as if they're making some sort of progress, like they're part of the women's rights movement and stuff like this, but they don't understand what's really important at the time. Like they just want to fight for something, not realizing that we have all the rights that we could possibly need. We might have too many rights, to be honest with you. Like we have the right to kill children in the womb. Like we spawn killing kids, we have too many rights, in my opinion, in terms of that. But they want to fight for these rights, and they're stuck. They don't know what to fight for. So they make up these oppressions. They make up that women are oppressed, and they make up that trans people are oppressed, even though trans people just started existing recently. It's like, man, I don't know, man. And also, I kind of do disagree with the statement earlier that Bill Maher kind of halfway agreed with, that the patriarchy was stupid. I mean, the patriarchy created the world that we currently exist in. I don't want to go down that route or anything, but there's maybe one or two great women inventors ever, and you probably couldn't really name one if I asked you to, maybe one, but there's many great men inventors, and you could argue that it's because of the patriarchy, because women were oppressed for the longest time. But regardless, it worked out pretty damn well, and I wouldn't fix what's not broken. I'm not saying that we shouldn't let women work or anything like that. I'm just saying, you look at society and the direction that it's going right now, and versus the happiness of people from before, where women weren't working, and they were kind of just, each gender was kind of just existing within their natural roles, instead of trying to, like this guy said, exploit women to have them do things that men should be doing. I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much because I know it pisses you guys off, but it's the truth. The patriarchy, it created the world that we exist in currently. There's no women no women creating highways, no women creating electricity, no women creating skyscrapers. It didn't happen. Maybe now it's happening, which is probably contributing to the fact that many women are on, you know, antidepressant medication and things like that. You know, it's a huge factor for that. So I would think that the patriarchy way of living is probably the best way of living, personally.
British invented slavery. Oh, you know? And I want to say to them, do you think the pyramids were built by volunteers?
Right.
Or were they independent contractors?
Absolutely.
Pyramids were not built by slaves. They're not built by humans. There's no possible way they were built by humans.
I used to say it in my act. It's something people did all over the world.
People of color were a big part of the apparatus of the trade.
I mean, throughout history, the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, the British, all the way up to R. Kelly.
All the way. Only the peasants spoke English. So we've been slaves a lot, and I want to know if there are reparations, are we qualifying?
Reparations?
For being slaves?
Oh, it's a knotty issue because there is so many, some people say, well, what about black people here who are not African Americans?
Right.
They're African something else, you know. They came here recently, you know, so, or, you know, does California has offered reparations, or at least they've written about it.
Dude, that's actually such a great question that I've never even thought of before. It's like, there was slaves all over the world of every different race. So if we do reparations, do we qualify? Like, do white people qualify for the reparations too? Because our people were enslaved before. They had white people enslaved. They weren't necessarily enslaved in America, but they were enslaved before. So do we qualify for reparations? That's a great question. I never even thought of that. And now I know that like the argument would fall apart, because then the people who were, you know, Dr. Umar and these types of people who want reparations would just be like, yeah, but they weren't enslaved in America and we exist in America. So that would probably just fall apart. But it's a good comeback for like a low IQ idiot that's arguing in favor of reparations.
Suggested in the legislature, I believe, and people have pointed out, well, California had no slaves.
Yeah, I know. The whole thing
so there's a lot of
hugely complicated.
Yeah, it's, you know, there are people who would say it is wrong just that we're talking about it because,
yes,
which is a really dangerous type of censorship.
Yeah, but it's,
like
it's
you
totalitarianism. It's you mustn't mention this because you'll be in trouble.
Well, it's a way to shut people up by saying, no, you're not qualified to speak on it.
Yes, that's right.
As if two white people can't speak about, no.
Because we don't have any lived experience.
We're blind. We're just, it's like, but I will freely admit, yes, we are blinder.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we're completely blind. And also, there's two ways you can not see something accurately. One is to be too far from it, which, yes, we are. Another way is to be too close.
Good.
And then, you know, so there's
you can see nothing else.
Then you can see nothing else.
Yeah.
So
Somerset Maugham once said that in order to know your own country, you have to live in another one.
And you sure know that, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been coming here since '64, and I reckon I spent 15 to 20 years.
That's a really, really good point, too, that a lot of these people in America absolutely hate America. They hate everything about it. You know, 50% of the country basically hates America. Any Democrat hates America. And they use every single opportunity that they can get to tell us how much they hate America. Like a lot of these people who are doing these pro-Palestine protests, they don't actually care about the Middle East, you know, stuff happening in the Middle East. They don't actually care about Palestine. They don't care about any of that stuff. They just know that America is allied with Israel, and they want to show every single opportunity that they can that they hate America, so they're going to go against America's ally in Israel. And I'm not someone who, you know, I'm probably more on the Palestine side of the whole confrontation over there. But I also recognize that most of these protesters just hate America, and they'll take every single opportunity that they can. And like, it's not just that, it's also, you know, the BLM protest and all that stuff, right? And a lot of these people have never even been outside of the country. A lot of these people don't have the perspective that, you know, people are dying every single day and making a choice to attempt to enter this country illegally, understanding that the punishment, if they get caught, is very, you know, they could go to jail. But also there's a much harsher consequence that could come of it, that they could die, you know, crossing certain bodies of water. They could get, you know, killed and robbed by people, you know, gang members, cartel members, whatever. Like there's a lot of bad things that could happen to these people as they're being smuggled across the border, as they're crossing different bodies of water, and they understand all of those risks, and they still take the risk to come here. And there's 50% of the country that absolutely hates the country that they live in when people are dying every single day to come to this country. I have a friend who used to work in Homeland Security, and he would tell me these stories about, like, he would go on the border, they would find trucks that are abandoned. And, it was like box trucks that were obviously trying to smuggle people through the border, and they were abandoned trucks. And they would open up the back of the truck, and they would just be like 12 people just starved to death. A lot of times full families, mom, kids, and that was not an uncommon occurrence. They would find that all the time. And when you hear that, it really puts into perspective, like, how lucky we are to be here. But a lot of these people don't have that perspective. They've never traveled to another country and seen the freedoms that don't exist. They've never heard the stories from someone who's personally seen these people who have starved to death trying to come to the country that they live in. They don't have the perspective. They lack perspective. That's why they hate the country so much. And also, they just want to be edgy. I'm sure that their parents were super strict and they just want to feel like they're rebelling against the system, whatever. Let me know in the comments, though, what you guys think about Bill Maher providing this pushback to this guy, John Cleese, who tried to say that woke is a good thing because it gave women rights, even though the woke cult that we have today has nothing to do with women's rights. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this disagreement here on the Club Random podcast between Bill Maher and this guy, John Cleese. Let me know what you think.